what? Like, who's this dude on the couch?
Right. Who are you?
He's like, you Roy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I just want to tell you, is this so-and-so your girlfriend? I'm like, yeah. He's like, we hooked up like a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
and I'm like,
hit you with the dagger.
Hit me with the
going through
dagger,
all that.
bro,
No! And you find out your girl messing around.
No, bro.
Yep.
I ain't never heard this story.
Yeah,
No!
I'll tell this one too much, but I had just made the decision to take total responsibility for my life, right?
Right.
And so that was kind of the universe. That was God's way of testing me. You really gonna take responsibility?
Right.
Here's this.
Here goes some more weight for you.
And
Right.
I just kind of looked at him and was like, okay. Went in the room, read my books, and I just prayed. I was like, that was my fault too. There was something I did or wasn't doing that caused that reaction. And to this day, I still live with every single thing that happens to me is my fault.
Like your responsibility. Yeah,
It's my responsibility. Everything. And so,
did you kick him out your house?
yeah.
I'm like, yo, we gotta get out, dog.
Right.
He stayed, and she walked in and saw him, ran to the room, and so we kind of had our thing. We broke up, and everybody.
Wait, so she was living there too?
She was living there.
Oh my, that's right.
She was living there.
Oh, you, bro. That means I love you, bro. That means I'll go to war with you.
Fire, baby.
The reason why you need to know your identity is because when you know who you are, people don't get to define it for you. When I tell you guys who you have in your circle is important.
You're listening to the Bros to Men podcast with Cameron Persad, Jeff T. Osborne, and Roy Rand.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of the Bros to Men podcast, where we create content that inspires action. Yo, so I'm excited about this. Listen, if you guys are just tapping in, I am J.O. My real name is Jeff. This is
Roy. They call me Dips.
Yes, sir. And it's Cam. Gonna be with y'all, man.
Come on, yo. We're excited to be here. If you guys haven't caught the last episode, you guys want to go in the last episode. It's a tearjerker.
Yes, it is.
But we talked about my story, talked about where I came from, and really dropped some jewels and some nuggets along the way. And so we just been in this super a space where we really wanted you guys to know us. We want you guys have been rocking with us now for already a full season, and so we wanted to go a little bit deeper into who we are and how we move and how we flow as brothers, and what originated, or how we got our start, or how we began our journey, if you will. And so we're gonna continue with this.
I'm excited about it. Let's get it.
All right. So look, Cam, who do we have that we rolling up in this today? Who are we talking about today?
Man, it's none other than Mr. Roy Red, aka Dips himself, baby. Let's go.
Mr. Confidence himself.
We're gonna figure out where his confidence came from, right?
Exactly. So we aren't gonna waste any more time.
Nope.
We're gonna just jump right into this. And so, Dips, man, we're excited for everybody to get to know who you are. We're excited for them to really get the story of our bro, and even figure out how you got the name Dips. I know we mentioned it. I earned it. So we're gonna talk about that, man. But for those of you who are watching this, and you may not know who he is and really want to tap into each one of us, we felt like it was important for you guys to know who you're journeying with. So with that being said, we ain't even gonna hold back. We ain't even gonna start. I mean, we're not even gonna stop. We're gonna keep going. And so with that being said, bro, man, give us your background, man. Give us the tiny dips, little dips. Where were you raised at, bro? And then let's go on this journey of who you are, what helped you become the man you are now.
Man, skinny, big tooth, ashy, big-headed kid from Gardena, California. You know what I mean? Running around on the block. You know, mom was a police officer, so she was always at work, especially in those times. It was very unsafe when LAPD was really getting it in. You know,
we're talking
riots
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. And my dad was a police officer at the time as well, before he became an entrepreneur.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they both became, they both were LAPD. So I was running around with the streets. And, you know, I was that kid who lived in not really a super poor area, but there was hoods, there was gangs, but we weren't rich, but we had money.
Right.
So, you know, we had the TV, you know, we had cable. And so I had more money than everyone I grew up with. But I always felt like I had to prove myself because of that. You know what I mean? So I kind of had two things. I felt like I had to prove myself because of that, and also because I was real small.
Yeah.
Like I was 110 pounds until sophomore year of high school. So you can imagine running the streets at 5, 6, 7, and I'm super duper skinny. But in my head, I feel big. Like I feel like a dog. I feel like I'm the best at basketball. I'm the best at football. So running those streets of Gardena, man, really, you know, and a lot of people don't know this. I was really raised every day by my brother James. And so my brother
J-Dog, man, yeah.
So he was the one who made sure I got ready for school. He walked me to school. He took the bus with me to school. So he'll go to Gardena High while I was going to Perry. And so James just took care of me. And you know, James is crazy. So anytime I got into it with someone in the streets or at school, I never told them because I was I was afraid for the person that I was getting into it with.
Right.
So yeah, man, growing up in Gardena, everyone on my block was super masculine, super hyper competitive. They didn't show, there was no mercy out there. If you lost, you hearing it. If you cry, you hearing it.
Right.
It ain't
if you ugly, they gonna let you know.
You gonna let me know. You know what I'm saying? They called me Roygler for the first. I would come out the house, they'd be like, Roygler. As soon as you come out the house, it's like Dame Dash said, it's live.
Yeah.
You getting roasted. What's up? We playing hockey. We playing football. We playing basketball. We getting on the Mario Kart. Whatever it is we talking.
Yeah.
And whoever loses can go home. You getting roasted until you get your get back. And so growing up in that hyper competitive environment, I became super hyper competitive. And at first, I wasn't that way. I was more like a crybaby. Like I would cry because everyone was bigger than me. Everyone was better than me because I was young and I was small.
Right.
Everybody would beat me up. You know what I'm saying? Keith, Isaac, they used to beat me up.
dropping names.
Yeah, I'm dropping names. All of y'all.
Isaac,
Keith, Isaac, they used to, you know, my boy KK, they would beat me up. And Isaac, I gotta show him some love because he was always the one like, I don't care how small you are. Size don't matter. You better figure it out. And then
you don't get a pass for that.
And then I don't get a pass.
You don't get a pass for being little.
Wow. You don't get a pass. You got to win. Ain't no sympathy out here. And so, my dad ended up, you know, moving away. Him and my mom broke up, and that partly built my brain as well because I remember to this day, like vividly, being like 9 years old and mom and dad arguing, and my dad just came in the room. You could hear him arguing, you know. He came in the room and he kissed me on my forehead and said, "I'm gonna leave, but I'll be back. I'll come see you. We'll work on your jump shot. You know, play some basketball." And I remember tearing up, crying, and he walking out the back door. And we had this back door that was split in half. And so he closed. I could hear him close the bottom, then the top, and then he like kind of locked it. And I remember just crying, like, "Yo, I want my dad back. Where's my dad going?" And in that moment, literally as a 9-year-old, I had the conscientiousness to stop crying and said, "Crying's not going to bring your dad back. You need to be the best basketball player you could be to spend time with your dad," because that's how we connected. Was the gym and sports. And so at that moment, I said, "I'm going to dedicate my life to being good at everything I do."
So let me circle back around because you said a couple things that had me thinking when you said initially, you said, "Man, I felt like I had to prove myself because on one end we weren't as poor as everybody else was." We had money, but also was my size. So on one end, you have the fact that your parents have done well for themselves, and you felt like you had to prove yourself because your parents are doing well.
Right.
And then on the other end of it, you have your size, which is like your physical stature, and you feel like you had to prove yourself. So that's on two ends. So how do you feel like when it came to the fact of you having to prove yourself? Because for me, I say you guys are blessed, right? You guys are blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do we feel like you got to prove yourself that you're a certain way because, you know, God's hand is on your family, God's hand is on you. So how did you prove yourself because you had more J's, or you had the TV. That big old reflecting TV with the lights on it, that big boy
or
light.
it was crazy too. I'm just thinking like two parents with a great career,
Right?
Yeah.
Right, which isn't very often when you come from
In the hood.
From the hood, right? So you got two parents with a great career, and like parents do, they I don't want to say spoil, but the children get to reap those benefits of their hard work and their sacrifices. But like you said, it's crazy that when you're in a good position, you have to like go back and prove yourself, right? Like that, you should still be allowed to hang out and compete.
Right.
So like I think it ties together because you're talking about that's where that competitiveness came from, right? So like JL said, touch on that, son, bro.
I just felt like I had to be good at everything I did. If I'm gonna go out on the basketball court or I'm gonna go out and play something, I have to be better than everyone. And feeling like I had to prove myself because I had it easier, per se, for lack of better terms. That's something that stuck with me for a long time. Like even when, I would hang out with you, I would be jealous of your hard story. Like there's yes, there's something about struggle that is beautiful. And like even though I didn't really struggle, I just wanted situations. That's why I do the hard hikes and stuff like that. You want to prove that you can get through some tough times. You know what I'm saying? And so I always kind of had that. And then I figured out kind of the secret to beating people was I'm just outwork these guys. Like I didn't have any talent size wise, athletic wise. I didn't get athletic till I was 25, 26. But I was like, I'm gonna outwork these guys. And my dad would take me to work on my game, every other night, and sometimes in the summer every night. And then I started to create this gap between everyone on the block, and I would beat them in everything, video games, because I was just quick. I was a quicker thinker, football, everything. And then it hit me like, oh, these guys, they don't work hard. They don't actually work on their game. So I knew the cheat codes. So if the new Madden came out, I would before I invited people over.
Formations.
Bro, I'm over there. I'm reading the book on the plays. I'm practicing. Everybody like, yo, how you get those you get the interceptions without the computer. They like
user pick.
User pick. They like, yo, user pick skills is real. I'm like, hey, you didn't know I was up 2 days straight working on this. You know what I'm saying? So I figured if I could be good at everything and talk my mess, that's how I ended up connecting with everyone, because I may look a certain way. Like I was at the gym the other day and my boy Casey told someone else, he said, he's the strongest man I've ever seen. He said, I know he don't look like it, but he is. And so even though I didn't look like it, my dad always told me, just be it. Be the strongest, be the best.
You don't have to worry about looking the part. Just be the part, right?
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah. And that's a
tweetable right there.
If
y'all
you ain't gotta look it, just be it.
or take a clip of this episode, repost that on your Instagram, and then tag your Bro Cement Show.
So proof, bro.
Yeah.
I always look for a situation where I can prove that I'm valuable to the group. I want to prove that I'm valuable to the people I hang out with. And so I don't look it, so I try to get the results.
I love that.
So then it's okay. So now you've unlocked this cheat code. You recognize, okay, look, growing up, I got to be the best. I got to be good. The more I play basketball, the more I'm going to get more of my dad's time. I get to hang out with him by doing that. So here's my thought. The first thing that came to me is they hated on you because you had more.
Yeah.
They hated on you because of your size, and you had to prove yourself. Now you got more. Now you small, and you're better than them.
Yep.
So did that increase the heat and the tension that came with you becoming better and growing in your neighborhood?
It kind of did. It just made them step their level up, because they're super competitive too.
Yeah.
So I know he could have played D1, but things happen in life. And then being really great in like AUU and being the best out of everyone I knew, when I went to like junior high and then going into high school, I learned I had to prove myself again to people who didn't know who I was.
Right.
Yeah.
So I used
to,
and that used to bug me. And I'm like coming in to junior high, going to Perry. And I'm not starting over dudes who are trash. And I'm like, yo, all I need to do is get in, and I'm going to work, because they cannot see me. But I didn't even get opportunities. So then I learned this big part about life is you can't even show that you can't even prove yourself unless you get an opportunity. And opportunities are controlled by other people.
That's money.
And that was a big shock for me, because then it was, okay, how am I going to get this opportunity to show people? And I remember when I played in junior high, I finally got in the game and I went off. I went off for like 28 points. I hit like 5 threes. And then at the end, the coach was like, yo, you might get a most improved player. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I never improved, brother.
Right. I've been there.
I've been like that. You didn't give me a chance. And I remember they had the star player. I forget his name. But I used to kill him at the park. But he like played AAU and the coaches knew him. And so I was just like, yo, if I ever get to play him and to practice with my games, it was like, I'm going to dog him.
Yeah.
I'm going to dog him, and I'm going to start talking too. And being that I was small, it didn't make sense on what I could do. Like, I remember I would get in the games and I would be snatching down rebounds. And the other coach was like, how y'all letting the littlest dude get rebounds? I'm looking at him like, I ain't little. Like, I'm the biggest mind out here. So, that was a culture shock, and that was part of the reason why I quit basketball in the futures, because I just got tired of trying to prove to people. I like proving to people. I got tired of trying to get the opportunity. And so then I started to learn, how do you get the opportunity so that you can go against your Goliath, right? How do you get people to just give you a chance so you can show them that you're valuable and you can do your thing?
I love that. Before we fast forward a little bit, I know we're getting ready to transition. I want to talk about Mama Raylene a little bit, because Mama Raylene's different, bro. And mind you, I mean, she's been in our lives since early teenagers, right? And the stuff she used to tell us was, I mean, you talk about a mental coach when you're a teenager, and a black woman in LAPD in the early 90s, and going through all of what she went through in her career. Can you touch a little bit on the impact that she had on your mindset? Because she's a beast, right? Shout out to Mama Raylene, because she's
what's going
different, amazing. Love her. She had a big part in my life, and even professionally, because I worked with her for many years. So she shaped a lot of the way I see things, and probably some of the structure that I have. And you know, I came in as a new guy on a force, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, don't let them people, you know, you better go in there and tell them, you know. So I know I carry myself a certain way because she molded me. So I can only imagine growing up under the same roof with her.
Man.
So tell us, like, how and why, and give us the details on how she shaped you mentally.
My mom is my first mental coach.
Yeah.
Because my dad's the more objective, bro, you may never dunk, you may never do this, you know, because he just you know, he's objective. He's more of the analytical thinker. But my mom is the, you can do anything, but realistic as well. So moms would be like, it's okay. You're going to get taller. You're gonna get your athleticism. Just relax. You know, a little quick story. I remember a kid, we played Big Bank Take Little Bank. And I didn't really, he kind of, you know, he finessed it, he cheated, and he took my money. And I was like, yo, give me my money back. I'm going to fire on you. And then he was like, you ain't getting your money back. So I went and told my mom. My mom took me down there. It was like, Corey, you took Roy's money? She said, sorry, Roylene. And my mom said, fire on him, I'm going to fire on you. Go get your money back right now.
Get your money back right now.
And so that's just kind of how my mom thinks.
Wait. So for those of you who are watching, when he says fire, that means he threw a punch.
So
y'all understand this, right?
That means fight.
So mom said, you punch him, I'll punch you.
You definitely get knocked out by your mama, so
but my mom always told me, like, you're gonna do great things, you're extremely smart, I need you to take care of the family, you're the smartest one. All of this stuff just building me up, because she had to build this up herself. She moved to LA when she was 17. She had no one, she had no help. And,
where'd she move from?
She moved from Texas. So my whole family's from Texas. And so she went into law enforcement, went to San Jose State for got her degree in law enforcement, and wanted to be a police officer. And
can we just mention real quick too, this was a time when, for one, there was no black officers.
There was no black officers.
And two, black female officers. And mom retired as sergeant. Man, shout out to Mama Raylene, bro. Like, that's, you talk about doing something.
She worked right under the chief. I forget his name, but the chief when he was there. But she made ripples in LAPD.
Yeah.
Like, people knew Sergeant Alls, you know what I mean? Or Sergeant Salisbury. And so she really did her thing. But yeah, she not only was a mental coach for me, but she has this ability to create the future, or she knows what's coming. Like she'll tell me, like, don't worry about that. You're going to make six figures by the time you're 25, 26.
Yeah.
23, 24, you'll probably be broke because you ain't going to figure it out. 25, 26, you'll get it.
Right.
Literally 23, 24, broke 25, 26. My best years of six figures. Like, she just knows. She's like, oh, you're going to do that. You're going to build multi-million-dollar companies. I could see that. You're going to speak all over. She just spoke over my life. And she has this, I have this trust in her. Where it's bad and good to where if she says something, I have 100% belief in it. So when she tells me something bad, I'm like, Mom, don't tell me that.
Right.
'Cause I know you're going to be right. I'm like, better watch that girl. Something about her. Go ahead and walk right now. I'm like, Mom, no.
That wisdom.
Well, dude, I even remember when we were in high school, dude, and we'll fast forward to that. But I remember like her having that conversation, like, yo, hey, hold on, he cool, but he gonna he walking the line right now. I never could but hey,
mom's so she molded my motivational, my confidence side. She's the strongest woman that I know, and man,
Mom's
she
different.
Really, she different. She molded me, man.
So I think we left off. We were saying leaving basketball.
Yeah.
And when you were speaking about opportunities, I was thinking of one of our favorite authors, the late Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
And I remember reading that book. One of the things that he says in there that always stuck out to me from, I don't know, whenever we read it, 18, 19 years old, it just said that so many of us spend so much of our life looking for the right opportunities, and we fail to realize that most of the time you have to go out and create those opportunities, right? Instead of looking for the perfect job, go create the perfect job, right? So you talk about basketball, which is probably like your first love, right? As a kid, you have these ambitions. I'm going to leave the hood. I'm going to go play D1. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go, off to play professional overseas, wherever the case was. So I'm curious, because I know how much you loved ball. When we met, you were like the hooper, right? I'm going to go to Mount Sac. I'm a player there. I'm going to go X, Y, Z. So at what point did you realize you needed to leave basketball due to the limited opportunities, whatever struggles and challenges you were facing? And then what was your first move after leaving basketball?
So that was probably one of the rare regrets I have in my life.
Really?
To stop playing. Yeah.
Really?
Because I kind of got into this mode of you got to work. Should you work and go into a career, or should you take on, because if you hoop, you got to take on full classes.
Yeah.
And I was at a point to where my skills were at a super high level, but I wasn't quite athletic yet. And so I was like, I don't know if, I don't really know this is for me. And then at the same time, I'm tired of trying to prove to these people that I can hoop. You know what I'm saying? You always got the kids who everyone knows. They know every coach because they are in the AAU circuit their whole life. But if we got out there, I'm going to give you this work, just period. And it looks weird because he's slow and he's unathletic, but I think way quicker than everyone. And so I just decided so what happened was I was in school and I didn't have enough credits to graduate, so I had to take a RLP class.
Right.
And the RLP class was the EMT class. It's the only thing that was open. And in the EMT class, the first day, they said, we're going to do a test on all the bones. You need to know every bone. I think it was like 208 of them or something like that. And if you get a 85% or lower, you're out of the class. And it was the first day. I didn't study nothing. But I always read, and I love the body. I love physiology. And so I knew it. I ended up passing. And the guy was like, yo, how'd you know every bone? You didn't study this? And I was just like, no, I just love the body. I kind of read on this stuff. Dad was a trainer because my dad, left LAPD and went to the post office and then became a trainer. But I met this man who was a teacher. His name was Chuck Fedak. Now he's the chief for Orange County Fire.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I fell in love with just the medical field and the stress that comes with the medical field. Like someone got shot, they got their arm blown off. What do you do? And I've always been someone who wanted to help people. And so being that it was stressful situations where you're helping people, I just fell in love with it. I love learning about it, blood control, CPR, all that stuff. And then I made a decision. I was like, yo, I like this. I think I want to, do this and work on the ambulance. And Chuck taught me a lot. He molded my mindset a lot. You can't be complacent. You got to stay locked in. And I just took the stuff I learned from sports and put it into there. And I was able to pass and graduate. And then I decided to work 24-hour shifts instead of play basketball. And I remember having that conversation with my dad. He was like, bro, he's like, you could play. And remember, my dad is very objective. If I was trash, he would tell me,
he's a pessimist.
Nah, dude. Dude, you can't do it, dude. Nah. Hang it up. Hang it up, dude.
Hang it up, dude.
Yeah.
But he told me, he said, you could play. He said, you could play at a very high level. Stick with it. And he said, if you don't stick with it, I don't want to hear nothing about how you could have hooped. Don't tell me a peep. And remember that moment when I was 9 years old? I said I got to hoop to get my dad back. The moment my dad said I was good and I could play at a high level, lost my desire to play.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. Why is that?
Because a lot of times a lot of our motivations come from trying to fix some trauma that we created when we were young. Or not trauma, I don't like that word. Some situation or some experience. And when I said to myself, I need to hoop to play at that level because my dad, that was how we were connected. The moment I knew he knew that I could get busy, I was good.
Wait, why you say you don't like the word trauma?
Because it's not trauma. Nobody got hit.
Wait. Hold on, wait.
There was no real actual trauma.
Wait. Explain that to me, because I know you don't care about people disagreeing with you, because there's probably a lot of people right now like, yo, what is he talking about? But I believe trauma is real. So when you say there's no such thing as trauma, like, what? Explain that to me.
Well, people come to the emergency department all the time and they say, oh, I'm here because I feel like I'm going to pass out. Well, okay. Have you passed out before? No. Okay, so how do you know what it feels like to pass out if this never happened to you before? And so there's this thing semantically as people where we can create experiences based on our words. It's your emotions are fluid,
right?
And they can't be damaged. They're not a physical thing. Trauma will be like a car accident or you got punched. Impact.
Physical impact.
Physical impact will be an actual trauma. Like emotional trauma, I get what they're trying to say, but really it's just an experience that you had.
Okay. So you had an experience. Let me make sure you said. So when you say you had a negative experience that has impacted your emotions, is like what? How do you?
So, and I call these experiences life sentences. So something we consider bad happened to us, and then we said, "I'm never going to trust a person who's black again because one black person robbed me."
Right.
So we create this pattern of this is what these people do. So I created a life sentence that I healed later that I need to hoop and do this at this level because that's what's going to keep me with my dad. Wasn't true. Right?
Wow.
That's what happens when
like
you look at something as a kid.
Yeah.
As a kid, you don't know any better. And so we create life sentences as a child based on such little petty things that we carry with us our whole lives. So that was mine, and then when he told me I could hoop, it was gone. It was
so
over.
Wait, this is oily because you actually brought something to my mind because I've said a lot even in my posts like yo, trauma's not fixed, right? And what I was saying was those emotional problems and challenges that we go through in life, they're not fixed, and oftentimes we assign a life sentence,
meaning off to live with them
forever,
forever,
off of an experience that happened. But in reality, is you can't be responsible for what somebody else does, but you are responsible for how you react to that and how you so forward. Most of us, we get upset because it happened to us, and then we carry that moving forward and give ourselves a life sentence. That is gold that you're saying.
And I love the way you explain it, because since everyone used the word trauma, it will probably resonate better if you say use the words they use and say trauma's not fixed. I think I told you that. I love explaining it that way. So yeah, man.
But that's gold. Okay. So now your dad tells you this. You recognize, okay, look, maybe there's another path. I don't need to play basketball for my dad to love me, to be close to me. That life sentence was commuted, if you will, right? And so now you realize, okay, so I got this EMT thing now. I want to fast forward to you go from Gardena, and then you end up in the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
From Gardena, from the hood, the streets,
to the IE.
To the IE. You didn't just live in the IE like where y'all lived.
A nice house.
Y'all was on that.
Let's just say bro lived in the hills.
Bro, my man lived in the hills, dog. Like, and you were the first person that I had ever met that lived in the hills.
Yeah.
When you're like, yo, I live here. So we drove over up to your house and we kept going up.
Hey,
I'm
where
like,
we going?
yo, where
Views
we
are
going?
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I pull up to the crib and I'm like, okay. So what was the moment that you go from the hood, you go to the IE to this incredible, huge house, your lifestyle changes. Now at the same time, you're going through high school. That's when around the time that I met you. We were at Chino High, and then I met you there, and then we created that. But you were still hooping around that time. You're taking this EMT course. About to get to our senior year. You're like, yo, I'm making this switch. This is where I'm going. That becomes your first job. That I meet you at, and you telling me some of the craziest stories of what he's coming across. And you're in that tension situation where you're doing well under pressure. Now you're in this EMT phase. You're saying, hey, this is where I want to be. And then there was a shift that happened. There's something that happened where you're like, okay, something started happening when I'm in this field. What happened between your EMT? What experience did you learn there that transitioned you into who you are moving forward into your adulthood?
Well, what helped me a lot as being an EMT is learning to deal with high levels of stress, thinking quick under stress, thinking on my feet, and not folding under pressure, because you can't fold under pressure. And when you pull up to something that's really bad and 100 people outside, like, oh my God, you have to keep a straight face, and you're thinking, oh my God, but you gotta get to work. You gotta get to work.
Right.
My first call as an EMT was someone who stuck a shotgun up to himself and shot himself. And we got there, the whole right side of his face was off. And I was like, yo, what did I get myself into? We sat him down. The medic I was working with, Ben Mestis, put a tube in his mouth, and we saved his life. And I was like, yo, I love this work, right?
Said no one ever had the shotgun to the face.
I love this work. I just love helping people, and so, worked as an EMT for different companies for a few years. Fast forward, I had lost my job for this company that I loved working for because I kind of got into it with the boss. And I was working at this, what's called an IFT company, which is like where you just do transports. You don't do 911 or anything of any significance. You just transport people kind of like from dialysis back home and stuff like that. And I, had run through my savings, wasn't making as much money. And I had lost, remember the Ford Ranger?
Bro, I was just about to bring
Ford Ranger.
I was just about to bring that story up. I was looking for the right moment to segue. So how did you lose that Ford Ranger?
Shout out the Ford Ranger.
Man.
I had the EMT sticker on the back, so I never got tickets.
Bro,
how did you, you got to tell everybody how you lost the Ranger, bro.
I had the L7 kicker in there, the beat.
Yep.
So
can't even sit in the back seat because the sub was back there.
And he pulled up to Mom's house. We were sitting there the first day he goes to meet Mom. The pictures start rattling on the thing.
Pictures coming off, like, bro.
I was out here, man.
So, tell what happened, man.
Yeah, shout out the Ranger.
Didn't you flip it too?
I flipped the Ford Ranger. I'll tell that story right now. So, out here in the IE, I'm from Gardena. I don't know the IE like that. There's a whole lot of cows and
cow pasture
behind the roads. So I'm smashing on a back road, going fast. I'm with some friends, and there's like this gate coming up on this back road, and I'm like, oh, and they like slow down. I'm like, it's all right, and I pull the wheel, and I thought we were just gonna slide because, and as an EMT, you take an EVOC course, and so you do all these things with the ambulance, like you slide on the slick pad, and you really know how to drive really well. So I was like, I'm gonna just slide, and then we're gonna turn, and I'm gonna be good. But when we were sliding, we hit like a hill. And it, in the back went bloop, and it flipped over on its side. It was like boom. And I was with my friend Ramon at the time. Ramon was like, he flipped it.
Hey, the funny thing is when you used to drive the Ranger, like he used to shift the gear.
Yeah. He used to drive the Ranger like a Civic or something, bro.
Yeah,
Roy be on the freeway down. Like, what are you doing, bro? On every everything. Why did you buy the truck like that, bro? He should drive like he was Fast and Furious.
I needed more
He should
control.
only got the third gear, so man, like he going up here, like, yo, why you keep shit? Your transmission is shot.
So what happened to the truck? What was the final straw that RIP to the Ranger? Like,
So so the engine ended up going out after having like 250,000 miles on it. So it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So the engine blew out, and I needed a new engine. So the engine blew out, and so I needed to get a new car, and I didn't have no money at the time because I had blown through my savings. Rent was due, and I was working for this bad company that didn't pay me as much. So I ended up having to turn it in for like a couple thousand, and I got this 1987 Honda Civic.
Here we
the
go.
rusted out joint.
Here we go.
This ugly beige color with rust through the floor, hole in the floor where you could put your foot down and touch the street like the Flintstones. Just to start it, you had to run and then top in and crank it over.
With that jump start, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Only a few people saw me in that whip. I was, hoodies.
Did you tint the window?
Bro, I didn't tint the window. I was like,
oh my man.
But
okay, so wait. So now we get into the part that I really wanted to talk about, because I'm interested in your life, right? Everything, every area of your life. But I feel like listening to your story, and I think this is going to really bring some real. This is the moment that I think a lot of things changed. At that time, it was you, me, Dips, Sap, and we were all trying to, have these conversations about changing the world. Like, we're going to do some things. So me, you, and Sap were like on another, we reading books, we do all this, and Dips would just come and be like, yo, what's up, man? Chill. And so there was a moment in time where it was kind of like, yo, I don't know if
Dips cut out.
Yeah, I don't think Dips is cut to be able to make this transition for where we're trying to go to level up in life.
Right.
And so I remember that now, hearing your story of when you tell you that you can't do something, how it shifts in. So share with us that moment, man, because I feel like that was a big moment. In addition to what happened with the car and the transition, now we're coming into your pain point, because that's what I want to learn. I want to know, and I want people to understand, when they see you do what you're doing and you lifting the whole gym with one arm, you know what I'm saying? Or you doing like snatches with 1,000,000-pound dumbbells, and you traveling the world, TED Talks, and like, yo, bro, I'm heading over to Jordan. I got a speaking engagement in Jordan. I'm like, what? The country. So when you're saying that, and I'm hearing your story, I want to know your pain point. Like, what was a big moment in your life that was a pain point coming into this phase that really began to set up the Roy Red that we see today, that's traveling the world?
So it was kind of a pain stack. It was a lot. It was seeing my bros leveling up and me kind of being a little bit of an outcast. Like, damn, I got to level up too. It was even sis holding me accountable, like, Roy dropping B words and doing this and doing that. And then working for this bad ambulance company. And one day, remember we used to do the Slurpees and honey buns every night. We would work out, drink a Slurpee and honey buns like 3 in the morning. So I remember, I didn't have no money, but I scraped up some change, went and got a Slurpee and honey bun. And imagine eating a Slurpee and honey bun and falling asleep at like 3 in the morning. You got to be up at 7 in the morning. That's just not a good place to be as a person. But that was how I dealt with it. That's how I numbed myself. So I remember, going to sleep. I still had my uniform on, and I heard this voice like Roy, and I forgot to set my alarm, and this voice woke me up. And I remember like having this dream that I was working a dead end job. I had no money, and my life was just terrible. And then I woke up, and that dream was actually my reality. And so I was running late for work, and it was Armenians who own this ambulance company. You know how they are. If you late for work again, we're going to have to let you go. Come to find out, that company was doing Medicare fraud anyway. So I jumped out of bed, same uniform on, just kept it on, kind of, fixed my collar, brushed my teeth, jumped in the 1987 Honda Civic.
Jump started.
It was cold too. I was like, 40 is cold in LA. I'm like, it didn't have no heater, but if I can get it started, the engine could warm me up
because it was open.
So I had to push it back out of the parking stall. I hopped in, pushed it, hopped in, turned it over, and then I'm off, right? And so I was running maybe 10 minutes behind, so I decided to jump in the diamond lane. And this was at the time when they were building the fast track for the 10 freeway.
Right.
And, you know, coming from the IE, the O, Southside Ontario, I would have to drive all the way to Glendale.
Right.
And so I'm in the diamond lane, and I'm making good time. I figure, if I get a ticket, I'll get 2 tickets a year. That's just like paying the bill. It's the fast track bill right there.
Right.
So I'm flying, and there's a center median there, and the car starts to smoke, and the engine starts to break down, and I'm like, yo, I'm in the center diamond lane by myself. And I was just like, this is not happening. So I get out, and I look up forward to see how far I had to go. And I'm like, yo, can a tow truck get me? I was by myself. A tow truck was on the side, but he couldn't get there because of the median. And I remember I looked behind me, and there was this beautiful lady. She had a brand new Benz, the E-Class. And she kind of looked at me, because I looked at her like he helped me push my car. And she was like,
right. Not with
like,
this
you
one.
on your own. Not with
Right.
this one. Like, not with the Benz. So started to push this car by myself. And I had 2 miles to push it. And somewhere in pushing this car and in that 2 miles, I just asked myself a simple question. I was like, bro, why are you here? Why do you self-sabotage yourself? You had great parents. You had the perfect setup to achieve anything you wanted to achieve. You're smart, super intelligent. Why are you here? And I didn't like the answer. And at the end of the day, the answer was it was my fault. Everything was my fault. I wasn't living right. I wasn't locked in. I wasn't saving money for a rainy day. There was so much things that I wasn't doing that I knew I should have been doing. Things that my mom tell me you should do, right? And my mom remember, she's a prophet. Save some money. I know you ain't. You hard head. Save some money.
Right.
You gonna learn, right? You gonna learn. And so I just decided to change my life. I said, yo, I'm going to figure out a way to get home, and I'm going to change everything up. I'm going to read. I'm going to figure this out. And God heard me. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And the tow truck driver was like, yo, you want me to tow you to a yard? Where you want to take the car? And I was like, yo, I don't have no money. I live 30 minutes that way. He was like, yo, I could take an early lunch break. I'll take you home.
So he took you home on his lunch?
He took me home on his lunch break, and he took me home. I got home, and I just Googled how to be successful.
So at this point, you're fired.
I know I'm fired.
You're not even calling the
I'm
job.
not even calling. I didn't even say I'm not gonna make it. I just stopped calling. I was like, yo,
block the number.
You know you're done,
right?
You're done.
God was like, you don't like this job? Here, I'll take it away.
You got no job, no car.
No job, no car.
Rent
no
due,
money.
Rent coming up.
And struggling.
Wait. So in this moment, you're feeling. Was it like, okay, hey God, show me how to be successful? Like,
right.
yeah, now's my moment. Like, were you excited like that? What was I want to know, like, what was your emotion? Like, in that moment, you pushing your car, you stranded, you ain't got no, like, what was your emotion?
And what was like, because you have 2 choices when you're in that situation, right? And we always talk about that deciding factor and which way you're going to go. You're at the fork in the road. So what made you say, I need to go this route and figure out how to be successful, opposed to my life is hell, screw it, I'm giving up?
Yeah. So first, anger. It was extreme anger. When I'm angry, I'm stressed when I get angry.
Yeah.
Because I was just mad at myself. And that's such a good question, Cam. When I came to that fork in the road, and what made me decide to take responsibility, it's the foundation of what my mom and dad taught me.
Oh, I was about to ask you that, because many of us, when we're at that fork in the road, it's either responsibility or it's blame. If my parents never would have broke up, if my mom would have moved me from LA with my friends, where I would have had better friends and I would have been blah, blah, blah. So what pushed you to the latter opposed to taking the blame?
It was them. They always told me take responsibility. My dad always taught me you can always impact the situation. There's always something you can do. It's always up to you. What they taught me was running through my mind. So my mode of operation, my MO was my fault, right? because
That's
at the end of the
ownership.
day,
Yeah.
that's ownership. At
Responsibility,
the end of
yeah.
the day, and it's powerful. If I mess this up,
That's
I
me.
can fix it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
I could fix it. And what's crazy is it takes the same amount of energy
Boy, say that.
to mess it
Dips.
up as it takes to fix it.
Say that,
Right,
Dips.
right.
It takes the same amount of energy. It's not even harder. Like it's hard. Life is hard. It's not. It's really just, don't put that donut in your mouth. It's really just,
Yeah.
pick up the book and read it. It's small. What's the compound effect? Failure is small, bad decisions accumulated over time.
Stacking up.
Success is small, daily good habits accumulated over time. It is really that simple. And since I messed it up, I just, hearing my dad's voice, hearing my mom's voice, I was like, I got to fix it.
That's so good. Remember one time, like someone told me, one time, like the reason why you're the best person to fix your own problems is because you know the mistakes you made.
Yeah.
Right.
So someone told me, it was like completely unrelated to life experience, but he was saying if you're at a point where you've messed up, just put it in reverse and backtrack, rewind, and just ask yourself, what steps did I take to get here? Then take those same steps backwards, and you just unfix, the chaos that you've created.
Yeah.
So you did this life change, and I want to get to this good stuff so people know kind of what you're up to now, because now when people know Roy Red, it's like, 5 best-selling books, and like you said, he's going out the country and he's doing TED Talks and all this stuff. But there was a time when you came and someone be an author, we flat out laughed, like, bruh, it's like, I'm going to be this best-selling author, and I'm going to write these books, and I'm going to teach people. And I've told the story before on the show where he had a whiteboard and no one's in the room, but he's writing these videos, and I'm over there with the dog, like, eating popcorn, like, what's the bro talking about, right?
Yeah.
So take us real quick from how you went to this, I'm going to take this massive action to fix and to undo the chaos I've created, to the point where you got these books and now you're sharing these gems that life forced you to learn along the way.
So came home, and a friend of mine, Pookie, was staying at my place at that time.
Yeah.
Walked in the house, and Pookie was sitting with some dude. I don't remember his name. He had dreads. And Pookie just goes, tell him. And remember, I'm going through all this in my life. And I'm like, tell me what? Like, who's this dude on the couch?
Right. Who are you?
He's like, you Roy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I just want to tell you, is this so-and-so your girlfriend? I'm like, yeah. He's like, we hooked up like a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
And I'm like,
hit you with the dagger.
Hit me with the
Going through
dagger,
all that.
bro.
No.
And you find out your girl messing around.
No, bruh.
Yep.
I ain't never heard this story.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't tell this one too much, but I had just made the decision to take total responsibility for my life, right?
Right.
And so that was kind of the universe. That was God's way of testing me. You really gonna take responsibility?
Right.
Here's this.
Here goes some more weight for you.
And
right.
I just kind of looked at him and was like, okay. Went in the room, read my books, and I just prayed. I was like, that was my fault too. There was something I did or wasn't doing that caused that reaction. And to this day, I still live with every single thing that happens to me is my fault.
Like your responsibility.
It's my responsibility. Everything. And so...
Did you kick him out your house?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, we gotta get out, dog.
Right.
He stayed, and she walked in and saw him, ran to the room, and so we kind of had our thing. We broke up, and everybody.
Wait, so she was living there too?
She was living there.
Oh my, that's right.
She was living there.
Yo.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that had to be fuel for your fire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're like, yo. So then you make this transition. You come into this moment. You're recognizing these changes that you have to make. You're now doing these blueprints, but it still doesn't make you immune to the pain and stuff that's coming in your life. But you still got to push forward to become who you are now and who you're becoming today. So tell us about that switch, and how did you hit that accelerate button? We love that word, acceleration.
Acceleration.
Yeah. So when was your acceleration moment, and what did you do to tap into that acceleration?
So that was at the end of 2010, and like I said, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So I started, first thing I knew was get a better job. So I started applying for 100 jobs. That's when I got hired at Kaiser. And I remember like my first 2 weeks at Kaiser, I would just work, even sleep in my car in the parking lot and kept working. And I was in the break room reading Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, and my bro Damien, who was my first mentor, came to me and was like, yo, you're in the personal development? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, yo, come to this seminar. I'm like, cool. He's like, it's going to be billionaires, they'll millionaires. I was like, yeah, I'll go. He's like, yeah, the tickets are $5,000. I was like, oh, hey, have fun at the seminar. I ain't going to be there. He's like, no, I got an extra ticket. My wife doesn't like these things. You can come with me. And so I went. And when I went, I got around these billionaires and millionaires, and the first guy I talked to was a billionaire. He's the guy who created the lifts and the ramps on the back of U-Hauls. He was the only person in that market. And he said, oh, what's your business? And I didn't have a business, so I just made one up. I was like, oh, I sell CPR to healthcare providers. And he was like, oh, really? And he asked me, well, what makes your business different? And I was like, I'm not sure. He's like, get back to me. He was like, we'll have lunch, right? And we ended up going to lunch. You know, I was listening to him, found out he was a billionaire. And he was like, young man, he was like, you're extremely smart. He's like, you're going to do big things. And he's like, if you ever need help, you can hit me up. And that threw me off. I was like, yo, a billionaire just told me I was super smart, I was going to do big things. And besides my mom, nobody else had told me that. So I was like, yo, what's going on? And the one thing that really changed my mindset was being around these people. And it was JT Fox's event. Everyone knows JT Fox. He went big on Clubhouse. I was looking at them like, they don't work hard. I was like, yo, I can be just as good or better than these guys. And so that's when I got with my mentor. He said, you need to write a book. And I didn't feel like I could write a book until I made 6 figures. For some reason, that was the number. So I built that fake company, which was Red Zone CPR, and that's what took me to a 6-figure level. And that's when I wrote my first book, The Success Magnet, How to Cultivate the Values that are going to attract success. And that was my first book, which sold to this day 15,000 copies. Just, I don't know how people find out about this book. I released it, and that's what led me to working with athletes and doing TED Talks and speaking all over the world, man.
Hearing your story, man, and watching how this is unfolding is one of the stories where you see that you don't have to come from derelict, like terrible background to be able to do it. And you look at Cam's story of what he's done in my story, and you used to compare that. But your story is just as potent because it's your story. And you had an opportunity to quit. You on the side of that freeway with the Flintstone car. You know, you flipped your car. You dealt with, you know, your issues from your childhood, your parents separating, and you still had a choice. You had a decision. You had so many people doubting you, and you are one of the most disciplined people I know. And I remember you went to that transformation. As we're looking at this story, and as we're looking at your life, and we're evaluating your story, man, we're seeing ourselves in different areas in your story. Somebody's watching right now. Somebody's listening right now to your story, and they're asking, man, can I really shift that? And you specialize in the mindset. You specialize in being able to flip that switch to take you to where you need to go. What would you tell somebody who's listening to your story right now and they need to shift? They need to make a change in their mind, whether that's in their relationships, whether that's them wanting to have the ability to go and acquire a business, start a company, change their health. What would you tell somebody that wants to begin that journey of shifting their mindset?
I would tell them to get out of their mind. And let me explain that. The mind has this ability of self-sabotaging itself. You know, it wants to stay the same. It doesn't want to change. And the first thing you got to do
look at
hey,
like
get the
do
camera.
like Uncle Dion. Where's my
Let me
camera?
the pause.
Yeah, go.
That's for a fact. The first thing you got to do is take full responsibility, and this is extremely hard to do because it's not our fault all the time. But when I say responsibility, I don't mean blame. I'm not saying it's your fault, But when you take responsibility, it always leaves you in a position of power to put your hands on the steering wheel and change something. You know, I was watching Bruce Lee last night, and he was like going up these levels, fighting these bosses, beating these bosses up. And after he beat up Kareem, the last boss trapped him inside of this room. And I was thinking like, yo, if I got trapped in that room, I'm claustrophobic. I'll be banging on walls. But as soon as he got in the room and got trapped, he just sat down and he just started breathing and just chilling. And I was like, yo, that's so smart, because he knows at the end of the day, we're gonna fight. But imagine if he was banging on walls. Imagine if he didn't take control of himself in that moment. He would have been tired by the time it was time to fight. He knew that it's not my fault I'm in this room, but my only play right now is to relax and be patient. And so that's everything I mean about take responsibility. There's always one thing that you can do that's control your character, your emotions, whatever that is. And if you can't do nothing, get back to your roots. That's on your knees, praying to the Lord, praying to God, and He'll show you a way. So first is always take responsibility. And then from there, just think, what can I do right now that's going to impact the results of my life? What's one step that I can do? And then do that thing. Yes, and then what's the next step? And then do that thing. And then next thing you know, you get big mo, which is momentum. Then next thing you know, it's a habit. And next thing you know, you look 6 months, a year down the line, and you're winning. And there's something powerful about when you take responsibility. First, karmically, everything bad comes to you right away. But just handle it, take care of it. Then when you're past that, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and things will just start to massively increase and accelerate in your life. That is my promise to you. That is God's promise to you.
Boy, you better go ahead and say it.
Let's turn the cameras off.
We're good right now. Yo, listen. Hey, we just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, Dips, you gave us that story, and we the reason why we call you Dips is because back in high school, my man had the waves. My man had the waves, and we used to go at it with the waves, and so he ended up beating me. So we gave him the nickname Dips because his waves were always different. And so, Dips, man, we appreciate that nugget, man. We appreciate you bringing us into your world, and that nugget that you shared of, man, taking extreme ownership, taking responsibility for where you are, and understanding that you can change it. But that's gold. Yes, I mean, I can't even. I'm gonna play. So we're gonna marinate on this bad boy. But listen, hey, we want to thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of the Bros to Men podcast. Before we sign off, Dips, where can they find you at, man, on social media or website so they can watch you? And
Roy ROY_Redd REDD on everything.
I love that. I love it. I'm Jeff T. Osborne at Jeff T. Osborne anywhere, jefftosborne.com.
Yes, sir. And I'm Cameron Prasad, Cameron with a K _Prasad.
Come on. Hey, well, thank you guys for tuning in. Bros to Men podcast, where we give you guys tips and jewels that you need.
Make you take that action. Change that life.
Action. That's right. We love y'all. We can't wait to see y'all next time. Peace.